say, ha! You feel that? You feel like you want to fly right now? Fly. 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 To the sky. I know but God. He says he's got me. He says he's got me. What I say? I say copy. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Sorry, I'm testing this new feature out on I use StreamYard. A pan for service. Excuse me. That I don't use that often, but now they got some updates. And I'm kind of excited just to play around. So I like how it just did. So I need to do an official intro, an official outro. But I just threw that in there just to see how it looked and how it flowed. But I'm excited right now, even though it's late. I'm gonna make this quick. But I still feel like just hearing the beat. So I'll just play a beat and just start by yeah. 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 This beat is only a minute long. I can't even talk. I don't even know why I did a podcast because my voice can't last. But if either J in the major in math, or should I say computer engineering from Villanova? Yes, I'm a scholar. Yes, you know it's over. I don't drink, so I'm steadily sober. If either J and I drink like Folgers. No, I drink a Moscow, or should I say a Celsius, just to get me lifted. Look at my words, yes, they so gifted. I don't even know what I'm saying right now, but looking at the camera and all I do is smile so you can see all 32 white. Or maybe there's a beige in sight. I don't care. I'm just gonna explode like dynamite as I ignite the beach and all. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. You wanna laugh, so just don't fight it. You know I'm just playing. Maybe the J and I'm steadily raining on your membranes. Yes, you can't sustain the pain that I bring because I'm doing my thing. Podcasting, outlasting, surpassing. Got the masses listening, or maybe one just fishing. And I don't know what I'm saying, so I'm going to fade it out. It's what I'm all about. I haven't played with these toys in a while. This be the dude in an outline. Okay. I'm reminding myself of my younger self back when I was a wee lad. This is going to be a horrible podcast to listen to if I'm joking. Minutes into the stream, 3 minutes into the stream. So yeah, we're going to make this fast. Excuse me. I'm not editing any of this out. This is live. So I was just so I consume too much YouTube, and the algorithms that are on my feed lately have probably the last few months just been political. And I have my opinion just about politics, and I don't want to use my space to talk politics, even though it's easy, especially when you're Black, because you can be on one side and be loved, or you can be on another side and be loved. You just got to go hard for whatever side you go on, and then they're just going to love you. They're going to follow you. They're going to do all that. But I have my own opinions just because I work for elected officials. And so you see the truth. And I think it's not just elected officials. I thought I put my phone on. Sorry, I can hear it in my ear. I thought I put it on. Oh, it's the computer. Hold on. Because I don't know if you guys are getting the rings as I'm getting the rings. So I've worked under elected official, and I see what they tell the public, but I also see reality, what you see in person. But like I said, it doesn't only fall in the political space. It can fall in any type of uh, environment where there's a leader that's not always easily accessible, where they're pastor and stuff like that. So sometimes when you volunteer for a certain ministry and then you're in the behind the scene and then you see how people really are. Sometimes they're consistent, sometimes they're not, and you're disappointed. But like now, I think it's always been the case, just like in politics. Ultimately, it's about power, and they tell everybody basically what they want to hear. They give them engineers, and that's why I say even similar to pastors. Sometimes it's not biblical, sometimes it's not accurate. But when you're in a certain position or a certain position of power, and you have influence and you have followers, you you don't want to disappoint anybody. You always want to make them happy so they can keep on praising you and lifting you up, or just assisting you to maintain in a certain position. So, like in politics, that's mainly the case. Um, but I think just the last, I don't know, just it's been several years. Was like, well, I think it's so more so the last few um, election cycles. You see more and more. Losing my mind right now, or my thoughts. We're becoming. I can't think right now. It's almost like allegiance to one side, and to the point where you can't concede anything um, to the other side. You can't admit fault. You can't admit wrong, and you can't be nuanced in any shape, way, or form. You have to stick to all the ideology of this political party, whether Democrat or Republican. And uh, everybody listens to me on this podcast. I'm Christian, so a lot of my views are conservative in many ways. So I have strong opinions about many of topics, but I'm also just open to hear why people may believe something different than me, and I'm fine when they give like a sincere, like logical explanation. But it's come to the point now, and sometimes it's either side, and it's just based off what you consume all the time. You're just going to give talking points, and you can't give logical thought. Like it's not like you taking time to process or even consider anything that challenges your belief. You just accept everything as truth from one side, even though it can be flagrantly wrong. Um, and in some aspects, like you always hear just in the election cycle, it's the lesser of two evils. And sometimes both parties, and there's members of them up there, they're coming from the same cloth, they cut from the same cloth. Um, they may act like political foes in the public, and they're buddy buddy behind the scenes, but they know what to do. They know what to say to basically stir the pot up and also just bring forth allegiance to um, their respective party. So with that being said, I just it's just been interesting now, and I think it's comical because sometimes you just think, just as far as we often say, just as far as the black us blacks, that we're not monolithic. We have our own thoughts. We have our own way of processing things. But when you look at voting, you when you have 90% like of a certain demographic or certain race voting the same way all the time, regardless, just because, and in certain um, politicians, they already know you're already factored in, and maybe they may have to come to your church say some words, how they're for you, or maybe bring some hot sauce, or they do. It's just the same like grift every time, but like we're so foolish, we fall for the okey doke all the time, and you can always use words like racist. So similar, like I say, everything's similar to church. So in church, since it's predominantly women who are in the church, the black church for the most part. Well, I think in most church, but like the women are like highly in the church, and so like, and that's why the pastors have a lot of influence and sway. But like in the black church, especially in certain areas, like all you have to do is talk about money or talk about a future spouse, and that always those are always the sermons that get the emotions going, that get this excitement, the screaming and everything going. And so, and they just know how to play the listeners ultimately. And I honestly say one of the most, I won't say influential skills, but I think one of the things that influences people a lot is just oratory skills, the ability to talk. And you like you can get away with so much if you just know how to talk and sway individuals. So you can easily con individuals, you can easily sell them stuff. And some people are very gifted in that. And some speak authentically what's on their heart, and it comes off and it resonates in that way. And others not so much. And you can see when they speak, it comes off inauthentically. It's more of a turn off, and you just see that person is lying. But others are so gifted where they just think like they can turn it on and turn it off like like water almost. And that is one thing about Obama, that great oratory skills. Um, and that was one of the things, that's why he was highly influential, I guess, in his candidacy, especially the first time he ran. And because a lot of us blacks, we wanted to see a black person, and he had the skill set. And then who he's running against, I think it was John McCain, and John McCain just came off like a evil old man, like a jerk. I think the only authentic side I saw of John McCain during that whole process was when he conceded the election that Barack won. And like, if you showed this sign before, I would have had more thought in voting for him, because and I was challenged on certain things, because it's certain thing, like I said, I'm conservative, but it was a lot of stuff he said. I'm like, well, I don't know if I should be voting for Barack, because there's certain things I don't believe in. But just John McCain, he just came off a certain way. And I'm like, if he was authentic as he was at the end throughout his whole campaign, I wouldn't have had as much hesitancy, especially with who his running mate was too. But it was like they chose to compete with a black candidate by bringing out a female candidate. Like, how can we win? So what do we need to? What kind of personality, or what kind of? And so they look at gender, they look at race, they look at, so at that time they were like the Republicans were looking at gender, and they brought basically she came off like uh what is it, a Barbie, or just somebody like a airhead in many of ways, because she wasn't competent. Sarah Palin. Um and that's scary. Like, if, because and they were pushing like John McCain had heart issues and stuff. It's like, if he dies, she's ultimately going to be the next president, and she is incompetent for this position. Um, and so like you even so and you see that play out throughout. That was the same like when Joe Biden was running. I can talk about the whole process, how he got pushed in. And so, like, the machine basically said, Joe Biden, you're our candidate. And everybody just fell to the side. And I think it was interesting that Bernie probably a month or so, was sharing this with Theo. I can't think of his last name, but from the Real World Show, Theo. I can't think of his name, but he's a podcaster now. But Bernie was just sharing, he was opening up just like the machine controls everything. And so I'm not going to go on all this politics because I have many thoughts on many things. But so I started off with just videos and joy. Like I'm just I just think a lot of things are interesting now. And so when Trump was running against what's her name? Now I can't Clinton. I'm like, she's a person, like she's not authentic at all. And I was glad many people saw just behind her and just she's very a very powerful person and very evil person. And you can still see how vindictive she was, and she got away with a lot of stuff. But I just on election day, I was laughing. Like I was just literally laughing because when you saw people's faces, because she was basically blessed as like she was going to win the election. Trump had no chance. And so I just found it so funny when she lost. Like I remember all the scenes. And so it was just, to me, it was funny. And I know some people, so they're so tied to it. They were so emotional when she did lose and Trump. I think that's where one of the memes came where they got the girl in the green jacket and the glasses screaming like, no. But I thought it was funny. And so, but I was like, I'm glad some people just saw her for who she was. And I think even at that time, like just even women, like they weren't falling like, oh, you just need to vote for a woman person or a woman president to be the first to break the glass ceiling and stuff like that. And so a lot of them didn't trust her. And I think you see, well, and that's why it's kind of surprising with Kamala. Well, I won't say like people just have allegiance to a side, and so like Kamala was like just you see the many articles, the videos of like who she was, and I was fun. I just seeing some of like the interviews why people don't trust her, and they said she's an idiot, and I'm like, I thought that was funny because it's like some things you can just see blatantly, but people still try to prop up and all this other stuff. So like I said, I'm not going to go into all the details. But so like when I was mentioning oratory skills, so now like you see more and more they're showing like black men, and it's not only black men, it's women too that Kamala's not pulling the same traction whether Biden, Clinton, or Obama. And people think they should just vote for her because she's quote unquote black. Um and you just should do it just because, which ultimately makes no sense. So it's like, oh, I don't have to do anything. You just need to vote based off my skin color. And I'll just say I live in a community, it's a lot of I think half the community is Chinese. They were the ones who were first moving in, and the second half was all Indian. And I could say there's Indians my color or even darker. So and that's the same like in a lot of just different areas of whether it's South America, it's different areas. Like you have your darker complected and your lighter, and of course in any population the lighter ones are more affluent. They live in the upper echelon of the community, and the darker sect of the races are always in the slums and whatnot. So they're, especially in India, it's like a caste system and things of that nature. Um, so because Kamala is losing in the race, or not sure her numbers are not as strong, um, they're pulling out the big guns. And the one that everybody loves, Obama, with great oratory skills. So I just found it ironic. Now you see just, and first I just thought it was, oh, it's just only this little bubble. Maybe it's just on the algorithm that's coming through my feed, but you actually see just on multiple news channels and even and you already know there's allegiances in the news channels, but just to see that all of them are conceding like he was just scolding black man, tell them that they should vote for Kamala. And it's like nobody has a choice. Nobody can vote based off of certain reasons that they may have, feeling strong on certain things or a greater sense on certain topics than others. But black men should just fall in line and vote for Kamala because she's black. And so now I just seeing the responses of black men, I find it I find it funny. So that's why I'm like, it's refreshing just to hear people that like, okay, now we're really showing that we're not monolithic. People are just expressing just a change of thought that we don't have to fall in line. And some people are trying to shame them. You see the celebrities, so like things with celebrities, there's a lot of people paid off or just some people just hate Trump that much, so they feel like you should. It's sad that politics has divided families and people because they care about ultimately they care about these two individuals they have no connection to and are willing to sever ties with their loved ones. And you hear stupid people talk about potentially getting divorces or not having sex based off these two individuals. And they don't see and they have a greater love and affinity to these virtual people, these virtual friends who choose who think the same, but not even like they don't have any true connection to and will despise their fellow husband, wife, brother, sister, and their whole family. And they get so strong and just adamant about these allegiances. And like, yeah, I sway one way over the other, but then I just see there it's always these extremes too. Like Trump is almost a deity in some senses. Like he can't do any wrong. And it's just weird also in the Christian community where they feel like he's almost like, yeah, basically a deity and he's gonna split the Red Sea. Um, and I don't think some people even realize some of his statements when they say he's a Christian and stuff like that. I'm like, do you remember his remarks where he says, I didn't ask God for forgiveness because I feel like he has too much to deal with for me to bring that to him. So, um, but regardless of all that, I just feel like I'm just glad that like there are men just standing up and just standing their ground. And I think honestly, this election is going to be different because in the past, some people sided with Trump and they only sided well in the past just at the voting booth, but not publicly, uh, not because of the sense of fear or retaliation. Now it's just unique, especially when you were black. But now seeing more of that, and then they don't have no shame, and I think it's just because it's more power in numbers for them to just state up front that I'm voting Trump, and that's it. And they don't care if they're called idiots and whatnot because they have other people who are in agreement with them. Um, and it was just weird. Like I was even at the beach, and I'm just leaving with my wagon of stuff like beach towels and tent and everything. My kids could follow me, and Hispanic dude, older Hispanic dudes. Oh, because I was playing music and stuff on my radio, so I was playing some hip hop music. And so I guess he thought since I'm a brother and I'm playing hip hop, he's like, "You vote for Kamala, right?" And I was like, "So that's just the assumption that I'm supposed to vote for her because I'm just this black dude playing hip hop." Like I said, I'm voting. I said I'm not voting for Kamala. That's all I said. And that's what you do have people who's not gonna vote for any candidate. There's some that are gonna sit on the couch. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, whether you vote for Kamala, whether you vote for Jill Stein, whether you vote for Cornel West, vote for Trump. I'm like, everybody has their own free will to vote for whoever. And I'm like, I respect your free will. Maybe, and of course, I may not agree with the reasons and things of that nature, but I respect it. I'm not going to demean you for that. That's your choice. And people have life events and justification and reasoning for those decisions. So I don't feel it's in my place to beat anybody down. It's not all, and I also won't praise somebody for voting for a candidate. So, and that's how I believe, because ultimately, I just believe like we should respect one another. At the end of the day, I pray for whoever comes into office, and I pray for my family and other families. Because we ultimately in the United States, people are coming here because we are blessed. I have the ability to live in a house, got freedom to do a lot of things. Of course, I didn't like the pandemic when everything was locked down, but I even liked the area where I was. A lot of us had our kids out playing because we knew it wasn't healthy and it wasn't good for our kids to just be stuck in the house. So I was fortunate just the area I was in that people all felt the same and didn't have the same fear in regards to the pandemic. But I didn't shame anybody who wanted to wear a mask or who stayed inside or who wanted to be outside. So it's like I had my certain limits too. But I just feel people should just I respect people who just think think for themselves and can just share what their thoughts are and like explain sensibly why they believe certain things. And I don't feel anybody, I don't, this is what I don't respect bullies, online bullies. And you have a lot of that in celebrities. You have a lot of that in different races. Even people who are not celebrities, just online influencers trying to shame people. I think that's sad. I think that's unfortunate. Um, but like I said, I find it I because I even like like I was mentioning Obama, like I have my opinions about him. And I think for the most part, everybody voted for him because of his I think we all just believe like in his statements of hope. And he was like, there's no red America, there's no blue America. So we're talking about division. There's the United States of America. But then now you see he's bringing the same division now. So listen to that. So he says there's no red America, there's no blue America. It's the United States of America. But then when he's talking to these individuals, he's just sharing how evil this other person was, and that these black men need to get in line. And basically, so it's okay only if you believe what I believe. And so you saw like the divide. You saw how the system basically broke him within 3 years, and because in the fourth year, like the stuff he was pushing, the stuff he was advocating, a lot of it, nothing benefited the black man other than that he was in a position and he had other black influences in the White House, and of course he's a representative, and so like you like to see your image of yourself in a high position, but the things that he was strongly advocating for was for certain groups and not other groups. Um, but yeah, and just seeing like how he spoke, and just the thought and just how many people wanted to embrace that and thought it was he was a candidate of change and hope. And yeah, he did have pushback in certain areas, but I think he also just got another mindset. So like when you're in a position of power, you don't want to relinquish that power. And there's other forces involved, like there is a machine. Like many people knew Joe Biden wasn't mentally there, and like you can see it now. And then that also questions so who was running the country when he wasn't thinking so clear, and also how he quickly changed his decision within one day. And you can see certain aspects of him just like coming out like you can see he still desired to run by some of his statements. And so, certain people with power and pull made the decision to pull the plug. That's politics. So I talk way too much. I need to go to bed. Um, but yeah, so I just figured I'm like, I need to do a video. It wasn't like I didn't want to talk politics. But I'm just like, I see all these videos. I think they're funny. Um, I wish I could probably speak as eloquently and clear. So maybe I need to organize them, but I don't want this to be a channel or a podcast about politics because ultimately I'm just a regular dude and I have certain mindset and belief. And so I just like people who make challenge me and like, oh, that is a good point. I never saw it that way. And that's why I just do believe like getting out of your bubble, um, hearing things from another perspective. Sometimes, yeah, you can't listen to junk, um, or it's just a waste of time. But it's just trying to be more open to hear, but also providing that opportunity for you to share your thoughts with others. Hopefully, they're just as open as you are when you're having discussions, and hopefully, we can get back to points where we have dialogue. Um, so I just it's going to be interesting, just the news channels based off what candidate is in. It was tiresome when Trump was in, just the news, the constant news on everything he did, whether he's eating a taco shell or something. It's like, but they knew how to stoke emotions, and so just a lot of people angry. So they basically put the news, the media actually got him into office, and then they all capitalized and actually got influence and power when he was in the office. So it's like they worked it in both ways, which is interesting because Trump got in because he was a reality TV star, and if you look at how they do, like where they talk about Real World or all the VH1 shows, they thrive in content or conflict, and that's what people like. They like the drama and all that stuff. So Trump knew how to manipulate that. And now the news knows how to stoke emotions, and they can say any and everything, and they can blatantly lie when there's a video of them saying certain statements, whether it's any side, but like they'll literally say something a week ago, and then they're like, "No, I didn't say that," or "I didn't mean that." Um, so that's why it's always interesting. Like even just as sheep or people followers, we have to like assess our values and stop putting all these individuals on platforms or elevate them to such extent where we don't call them out for their wrongs. Because at the end of the day, our kids are following our kids are seeing our emotions, and it's not beneficial for humanity as a whole. So I wanted to talk for 10 minutes, and this is 34 minutes. So I'm just signing off. Um, Hopefully it does do an ending when I click buy. But yeah, I just needed to put something out because I haven't put something out in a while. I'll have more clarity in my thoughts in the future. But yeah, uh, this is Jamal Fade Small. On moving forward, no breaks. I'll promise not to take such long breaks anymore, even though I always say that. But I'll see you on the next go round. And I'm out. Peace. Play outro and end stream. Here we go. Say. Ha! You feel that? You feel like you want to fly right now? Fly. 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 To the sky. I know but God. He says he's got me. He says he's got me. What I say? I say copy. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.